Is there
typed
anything
back
more
into the
American than
squad.
being recruited to play football at Clemson? Come on.
Right.
That's pretty
Yeah.
American.
True. Welcome back to another Yanks Abroad episode. Today we have our usual player performances from our players at their countries. We got a little bit of an Americans Abroad update to start, and then a power rankings that will be, I'll say, mostly off of the international break with a small combination from the weekend with their clubs, as Will is about to recap. It wasn't the greatest weekend off the international break for the boys. So we'll focus on the positives, which there were a ton of coming off that international break. But we'll get us started with a little update of how the boys fared this past weekend.
For sure. No bigger story than the Ricardo Pepi hat trick. I mean, we're going to go deep into this performance, but he could have had 6 or 7 goals. I'm not even kidding. Like, Casey, you would have been standing there losing your mind. Seeing
Bad
all
for my
the
hate watch.
Yeah, not good for your hate watch, but the finishes themselves were all excellent. We'll get into that, but a huge hat trick against Groningen. He is PSV striker. He will make a move this summer. One to watch, Ricardo Pepi, definitely coming for that Balagoon spot. He's doing everything he can. The rest of the boys at PSV, Tillman played the final 29 minutes, and Richie Ledesma played the final 15 minutes. It's interesting to see where Tillman is. Let's see what he does in the Champions League this week for PSV. Gio Reyna back in the side for Borussia Dortmund, played 12 minutes. Good to see that this first time back on the bench after injury. He's getting back into some playing time. Hopefully, we'll see him in the Champions League this week as well. Of course, with Reyna back in the squad, as many predicted, Cole Campbell went back to Dortmund's second side, their youth side, but he scored an insane goal. Go look it up. Top talent, the 18-year-old. Chris Richards made his return to the Crystal Palace side, coming on in the 90th minute. Good to see him back and on the pitch for the first time since September. So hopefully by March, he'll be back into full fitness for the U.S. men's national team. Another one who went back into his side is Caleb Wiley, making his first start since August 25th. He had been dealing with some knee tendonitis. He played the first 45 minutes, and he was quite bright in that 45 minutes, but picked up what they call a knock. I think they're just being careful with his minutes. Did not play in the second half at all. Tyler Adams continuing to get back up to full speed, started and played played 65 minutes against Brighton. He won 5 of 7 ground duels and 4 tackles. The way we're used to seeing Tyler Adams play, although Bournemouth did take a loss. Anthony Robinson had one of his worst matches, honestly, I've seen from him in a couple of years. Just was completely out of it. Got beaten for 2 of the 4 Wolves goals as Fulham took a terrible 4-1 loss. Joe Scally, unfortunately, got hurt early in his match for Mönchengladbach. Hopefully not a huge concern. It was a head injury. I don't think it was anything too serious. Might have just been a slight concussion or something like that, but I'd expect it not to be a long-term absence for Joe Scally. Leonard Maloney played 84 minutes for Heidenheim. Seems like he's back at his best since coming back from injury a month ago or so at the heart of midfield. They went up 2-0 against Leverkusen before losing 5-2. The big news, though, for Leonard Maloney, though, is that he will not sign a new contract at Heidenheim. And so we expect to see him lead the club in January, which could be big for his chances of getting into Pochettino's side if he's able to make a big move come this winter. Paxton Aronson, maybe the most informed player in the U.S. men's national team setup right now. Another assist. I think that's 4 assists and a goal in his last 7 matches, or 4 goals and an assist in his last 7 matches, I meant to say. And so we expect to see him return to Frankfurt, who he's on loan from this summer, and get into that Bundesliga side. Another one making a late run for the World Cup squad. Yunus Musa started in a massive match for AC Milan and played 84 minutes against Juventus in a 0-0 draw. Christian Pulisic did not start. They're saying he was not fit to start. I think he just had played too many minutes, and so he came on and played the final 20 minutes. On the other side of that match, Weston McKennie started as a false 9. Yeah, not my favorite thing ever. The Juventus fans were not a huge fan of it either. Would have rather see Tim Weah start up top with Vlahovic injured, but Weah did come on for McKennie in the 80th minute, but that match, of course, ended 0-0. Tanner Tessman played the final 11 minutes at the end, which ended in a 1-1 draw with Reims. Mark McKenzie, who we're going to talk about a little bit, had a tough go against PSG in a 3-0 loss, although, as Casey will describe to you, didn't seem like any of the goals were really his fault. Nonetheless, a tough match, and we like to see him playing against PSG, getting some good experience. Just a couple more here. Griffin Yao, who I am a big fan of, had his best match of the year, finally back to full fitness, getting into the side, was incredible in Westerlo's 4-0 win, getting his first goal of the year, a menace all over the pitch, 9 of 12 ground duels won, 4 of 5 successful dribbles, 3 chances created, 1 big chance created, was almost the man of the match for Westerlo, but Tottenham loanee Alfie Devine actually was the man of the match for Westerlo. And then for Celtic, Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers started together for the first time in defense for Celtic in their 4-1 win over Hearts. The two combined for 226 completed passes. 6 of 8 aerial duels, 7 of 9 ground duels won, and 3 tackles made. They were incredible for Celtic in the Scottish Premiership. That's the update. Obviously, we have so many injured players already. Haji Wright, Flo Balogun, the list goes on and on. Serginho Dest. I don't want to bore you with it, but a weird week sort of for the U.S. men's national team, but nonetheless, a Pepi hat trick. Caleb Wiley back on the pitch, and 4 key players in a Milan-Juventus match. Sounds like a good week to me.
Very cool.
No doubt about it. All right. Do you want to go Mark McKenzie first or Ricardo Pepi? Because those are our 2 big match recaps that we've got.
I feel like you're struggling to hold in how much you want to talk about Pepi, so I will. I'll give you the honors to go ahead and start.
Okay, let me share my screen with you so we can talk about Ricardo Pepi. Here we go. All right, so Ricardo Pepi, where do we start? I'm really only going to focus on the 3 goals because I think we know about a lot of Ricardo Pepi's ability and build-up. I don't think that's where we really ever feel that he's lacking. He's obviously a very physical presence. We know he's really good with his back to goal. But what I was honestly impressed about in this first goal was his willingness to run into the channels, which I feel like we don't see a lot of with the U.S. men's national team. I think our biggest issue, and other than the finishing at times, is that Balogun really stretches the back line a lot. And I just don't know that we've seen that a whole lot from Pepi. But here, this ball, you can see it just circled at the top of the screen there, comes in from the right back on a clearance. Pepi runs into the channel with seeing he's got a one-on-one with the defender and just pretty much outmuscles him and outspeeds him, gets on the wrong inside of him. So he comes from the outside of him and lets the defender kind of outrun the ball, comes back on the inside of him and leaves this entire gap for himself, in which he almost makes a bit of a mess of this. I'm not going to lie, because you're going to see where he ends up shooting from, which is an incredibly tight angle that I wouldn't suggest giving yourself in a 1v1, but he finishes with an absolutely ridiculous kind of half chip over the goalkeeper, over this defender who puts an outstretched leg and into the top left corner where you can see. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest putting yourself into this tight of an angle, but nonetheless, he strikes it the way he wants to, versus I know you feel that he scuffed that one of those goals in the U.S. men's national team game. And the finish is really impressive, and the run's impressive. So all in all, I'm going to take positives, but there is still some stuff with Pepi where it's like we need to iron some of this out.
My question on the finish is, did he like dink him, or did he kind of like chop it into the ground to where it went
No, he
over?
dinked him. Full on chip dink. It's a really impressive finish. And it's a bit of an odd one because the angle he's coming at, he is having to hold that defender off a little bit. And so wasn't able to be at full speed. And so there's another defender coming across, so he couldn't come too centrally. I think he could have made it easier for himself, but the confidence is obviously high right now. That's now a goal in 3 consecutive matches. And again, I think that Champions League goal has got to be coming hopefully this week for PSV. We'll move on to the second goal, which is more highlighting, again, this ability for Pepi to get in behind that we haven't really seen with the U.S. men's national team, which is really exciting to me. Again, here he notices immediately when his right back gets on the ball that he is got a defender who doesn't see him on the back shoulder, and the right back is far too away from him. And so immediately just starts making that run. A really nice ball comes in. But at the same time, Pepi actually has to control it because the defender makes a really nice recovery and just allows this defender, as you can see with this arrow, run by him and is really patient with it, which allows Pepi to use his stronger foot to score the goal. Because if Pepi just tries to keep going with the path of the ball here, he's going to put himself in a tight angle with his left foot. Probably gets blocked, or a really tough finish. Really does well to let that defender go by him, and then he can finish this to either side of the goalkeeper if he wants, but obviously gets it onto his preferred right foot and slots it right into the bottom corner here, which puts him up 2 goals, another really nice goal from Pepi, and just shows the kind of variance of finishes that he has. And it's so funny because so many of the misses he has, it feels like are so easy. They're easy headers or they're easy first time finishes. But when he actually has time, he's a really good ball striker. So it is odd to see him miss some of those goals because usually strikers like him who are so good positionally in the box and really good at kind of moving around, you expect them to be really good at making the easier finishes and maybe not such
Yeah.
good ball strikers. But Pepi seems to have the ball striking as well.
Is this a Luke De Jong injury? The reason he is starting?
I mean, he has been injured. I believe he is still injured. I'm going to tell you right now if that is the case. Yeah, he is. He's still injured. So,
Okay.
but I think Pepe's kind of making this spot his own. I mean, if
Yeah,
I'm
no,
PS,
for sure.
if I'm PSV at this point, I'm just trying to up his transfer value as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Obviously, it feels like with all the stuff with Fab, that usually means your agent is pushing to Fabrizio that I want to be transferred out because
Right, yeah.
we've seen this in the past. But it's Champions League will be the big test, I feel like, for him and where his next step is because the goals against Groningen and against, Breda are great and all, but we need to see him do it against top defenders. And he doesn't get that test against Jamaica necessarily. So I'm excited to see
Right.
him in the next few weeks and hopefully PSV make it to the knockout stages. The
Yeah.
third goal.
No disrespect to Mason Holgate for any
Never.
Mason Holgate fans out there.
Never, although he didn't play the second match. This is just another one where Pepi's just at top confidence. You can see this ball is coming out from this left central midfielder out to the left wing or left back. I believe that's the left back who's out there. And Pepi immediately, before the ball even reaches him, is pointing to where he wants it. He wants it on the spot. He wants it for a free header. He knows he's dragging these center backs all day. I mean, at this point, Pepi has had probably 5 big chance opportunities and scored 2 goals. He wants that hat trick. And just does so well to hold his line, wait for that ball to come in, get right between the center backs. Really nice. You can see Tillman also right here holding this other center back so that he can't double commit to Pepi. And that ball just comes in perfectly. And Pepi with a kind of awkward header. I mean, this isn't the easiest header in the world. You can see the way his body has to tilt, but he puts it right into this top left corner, giving the keeper absolutely no chance. So he scores a dink. He scores a nice slotted right-footed goal into the corner, and then a really beautiful header to top off the hat trick and a man of the match performance from Pepi, and just continuing to get into the right positions and scoring the goals now. So let's see the goals continue to go in. He's got the confidence. We really hope no injuries come when you have this type of confidence because that's always a killer. But he is quickly becoming PSV's most important player with Luke De Jong out because they score goals by the handful, and he's been the guy to do it.
It's very exciting. Like I say, I never die on a hill. So if Pepi becomes the next great U.S. men's national team striker, I will not be upset. But it seems to be, we talk about confidence a lot. It seems like he is on the best confidence that we've seen him in a while. And that late run showing exactly where he wants the ball, I think is the prime showing of that. And like we said, this is only a good thing. Whether or not he starts over Balogun is probably not going to happen. But 1, injuries happen. And 2, we've talked about this competition of when we get fit, the players already look so good right now. But when you bring in direct competition for every single position, that's when it just gets taken to another level. And Pepi playing this way, 1, it probably allows us to, and again, the last man on the roster probably is never going to make an impact, but it allows us to not even have the conversation about bringing 4 strikers anymore.
I mean,
that
which was always insane at Copa America.
Right. So we don't need to do that to begin with. So it frees up a roster spot. I don't think Poch would have been dumb enough to bring 4 strikers when we only play 1 in our system, but it frees that up to bring other positions where we potentially need more depth, whether it's bringing an extra center back or an extra wing back, just for more cover there. I think it gives us a lot of flexibility and comfort knowing that we do have kind of a second, I wouldn't say top level striker, but a really quality striker right now.
No doubt. And I mean, it does bring up the conversation because Balogun has missed these 2 camps with Pochettino. It brings up the conversation of March comes around, Pepi's in great form. Even if Balogun's in great form, Pepi still may start that first Nations League semifinal match. There is a chance that he is the starting striker right now for Pochettino. Balogun now has to work harder to get that spot back. Like, it is not automatic anymore. And that's the best possible thing to happen for any club or any country, is to have 2 people fighting for 1 spot because it makes both people better. I don't think Pepi is the better player. I'm fairly certain Balogun's a better player, especially for the system. I think the versatility of being able to kind of float out wide and to kind of alternate with Weah and Pulisic up top, we've talked about it so much, probably gives Balogun the edge. But I mean, Pepi's younger, I believe, by about 2 years. And the World Cup is one thing, but this just gives us two very young strikers moving forward and hopefully pushes both of them to succeed at their club more, which is really exciting
Yeah,
as well. Because I think Balogun, when he made the commitment to the U.S. men's national team, in his head, this is my number 9 spot. That's why I'm making this
100%.
transition. And so now
Which
he's being
is
pushed.
Yeah, which is something that we talked about where even if you're not playing well for your club, knowing that the spot is yours every time you come to your country has given a lot of players a lot of confidence, and you've seen them play like completely different players when they play for their country as opposed to them being in and out of their squad. So I think there's positives and negatives to both because especially as we just said with the striker position and all the confidence that comes with it, Ballo may have love the opportunity of him knowing it's his and he's going to take advantage of that every single time. But again, the competition hopefully is only going to bring the best out of a player like him.
For sure. And I mean, there's also a world in which, I mean, Balogun's not a winger by any means, but he has spent time out wide. I mean, I can see a world in which the two of these players can be on the pitch if we're chasing a game, is my point more than
Oh,
anything.
yes,
Because I think they
100%.
offer such different things at times. And if you need two goal scorers, two people who can kind of score from nothing, which Pepi is kind of showing that he can do now, which is a new aspect of
Definitely.
his game, and he's a bit more of a target man. It's nice to have a two strikers who you really believe in because yes, we feel that way about Haji, but for some reason he's not getting the opportunity, and it just
Right.
eliminates the fact that we probably won't have to see Josh Sargent ever as that second striker.
Right.
Which, again, it's great. Josh Sargent's been great at Norwich. It's an unfortunate injury he's picked up, but it's nice to have two very competent strikers and two strikers who are sought after. Right, like Balogun went for what 35 million, 40 million euros.
Yep.
Pepi could be going for the same. I mean, that's 100 million almost in strikers that the U.S. men's national team has. That's kind of crazy to hear because
Shows
for
how
years
much
we
people are
watched.
willing to
Yeah, we
shows
used to
how much
watch
people are
Justin
willing to
Sardes
spend for a striker, but still exciting nonetheless. I agree.
for sure. Center back though is one where we obviously have been weak for a long, long time. So
Yeah.
let's see what Mark McKenzie did against PSG.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. To start, we have Mark and Kenzie, who both of us were extremely excited about coming into the break. We were both also equally a little bit disappointed with his performances in actually both matches. We thought he played a part in a few of the goals that we allowed over the international break. So I thought it would be a perfect time to analyze his performance against PSG on the road. I mean, this is about as tough as a test as you can come by. So it's amazing to look at and kind of see what happened as you teased at the start. None of the goals, they lost 3-0. None of the goals were actually their fault. And this is the first time I did a deep dive on Toulouse. Whoever their manager is, I love the way they play. They were under pressure the entire time, tried to play out of the back every single time, which I think for McKenzie is a great thing to get into practice. But PSG was all over them, and it was 1-0 up until I think the 83rd minute. And from like 65th to 75th minute, they had the best of the chances. It could have been 1-1. Eventually, PSG makes it 3-0, and it looks worse than it is. But overall, what I thought was a pretty good performance from Mark McKenzie. He was tracking Barcola pretty much the entire time. This is him out on the wing right now, but he was actually playing more centrally most of the game. And in their 5-back, he kind of picked up this pocket right in front of McKenzie the entire time. So here, Barcola picks the ball up. He actually does a really nice flick over this right wing back and good anticipation by McKenzie to pick that up. And then he has 3 people crowding him, Barcola's coming to get the press and plays a brilliant ball. It was 1 touch and out, a 2-touch ball right into, breaks the press, leaves these 3 players out of the play. This player back into the right wing back, and then it goes out the other way, and they start a counterattack. So just a simple ball, breaks the pressure. As I said at the start, Toulouse was fearless in their build up play. I'm shocked it never actually came back to bite them. They did have some bad giveaways, but they were fearless in the build up with PSG pressing very high the entire match. So that was the first moment. And then a lot of these moments happen. Their wing backs. This is their right wing back. They got very high.
Forward player.
Yeah, they got very high most of the match. So he was isolated a lot on Barcola. So as you see, I tried to stop it right as it came off Zaire Emery's foot. I think he did well to, like, it's always a balance. Do you stick in line with this left center back on the other side and hope to get an offsides? Or he's not egregiously keeping him on by any stretch, and he's marking the man. I think it's the right decision there. Great recovery pace. He does this a couple times throughout the match. Great recovery pace. Barcola, as you can see in this frame, he looks pretty isolated. It's essentially a 1v1, him versus Barcola. Barcola cuts it back, but to me, and the reason we don't have a full answer, but to me, it looked like McKenzie was squared up well. It looks like he has that right leg planted and was going to be there. But as you can kind of see, Barcola slips. So we don't really see what would have happened if he cut that back. But I think it was good positioning and good recovery pace.
So Barcola doesn't even get a shot off here.
No. He completely slips. They have the ball and they play it out.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty nice to have a center back who's able to have recovery pace on Barcola, who's about as in form as anybody in Europe right now. I mean, he's having a ridiculous season. And the fact that the manager is willing to play a high enough, like that high of a line with McKenzie in the back five or whatever it is, like, means he trusts the player to play well. I mean, I know I've been reading a lot about how much the Toulouse fans love McKenzie, but that's fairly impressive.
No, it was very impressive. And Barcola, I believe, was playing the 9 in this match. And he was just naturally drifting out to the left side because it felt more comfortable to him. And Desiree Doué was out on that left side. So it was a lot for him and the right wing back to deal with. Two of the youngest, brightest stars in the entire world. Two people who knows, in the quarterfinal of the World Cup could be starting for France. And I would say most of the attacks for PSG actually came off the right side with Ousmane Dembele. And as I said, 3-0. I actually didn't look what his player rating, quote unquote, was, but I actually thought he played really well, was really well positioned, which we'll get into the next clip. This was their first goal. So McKenzie, he's in the right spot, marking, I believe that is Doué in front of him. Mm-hmm. But Hakimi plays an insane clip ball to João Neves. My confusion is, you look on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all in this area. I feel like that has to be wrong. The fact that he's naked out on here, it just feels wrong.
Whoever 7 is there in yellow obviously is, well, because there's 4 guys covering the crosser. None of them are far enough out on him. And then you've got 2 midfielders marking nobody. I'm not really sure what's going on there.
So not a Mark McKenzie problem, but does his best. An insane clip ball. João Neves hits this first time.
And scores?
First time volley. McKenzie tries to close the ball down, goes through his legs, unfortunately, and goes right into the bottom left corner. It was honestly one of the best finishes I've seen this entire season. It was absolutely insane. But the point being, this was the first
left-footed
goal.
First time?
No, it was right-footed. The left foot is his plant leg. He's following through with that right. Mm-hmm. Point being, they scored 3 goals. This is what I would say hit the goal he was most at fault for, which I would give him about 3 to 5% of fault there. Just honestly an insane finish from João Neves, and kind of tough on Toulouse because they defended so well for 35 minutes and get done by a world-class finish, which I guess is what happens when you play PSG. So, and then towards the end of the first half, again, we talk about the recovery pace here. Right wing back, obviously, just not even in the picture. So I believe this midfielder loses the ball or someone up here, but they are completely taken out of the play, and they see that they have a 4v4, and they are absolutely going. As soon as he beats this first player, Barcola gets on his horse. And originally, I was a little bit worried. But as you progress, this is when the pass goes, and step by step. Obviously, he had a bit of a head start, but I couldn't really show
Still
this without
running
the
backwards versus running forwards.
yeah.
You're always against it.
Yeah, and I couldn't really show this without the video, but Barcola gets into top gear way before McKenzie does. So although it looks like he has a big head start, he is running at 100% right now, and McKenzie's probably at 50, 60, trying to get up to top speed. Stays with him the
You can
entire
kind
time.
of see it in his gait. He's like, McKenzie's just starting versus Barkley's.
Yeah. He essentially just turned and went. Yeah.
Right.
The ball is played. McKenzie stride for stride with him. Doesn't allow. They wanted to play the ball past him and to the outside through that gap. McKenzie cuts it out, plays it to his other center back, and they play out of the back. That's also, if you look at the time, last minute of stoppage time in the first half, legs are a little bit tired, and he, again, is stride for stride with Bradley Barcola, which was a very, very good sign.
Excellent.
Into the second half, this was the only time where they kind of embarrassed him. I should have honestly taken one more frame before, but he was essentially right here. He steps out of the back line as Barcola is about to receive it with his back to goal, which I actually thought was a good step to the ball to put him under pressure. He just gets on the half turn there and then does him with a little nutmeg and is out the other way, which was a brilliant piece of skill by Barcola. But honestly, the only time that skillful players like Dembele, Doué, and Barcola got the best of McKenzie pretty much the entire match, and nothing bad came out of that little nutmeg.
Feels like he just overcommitted a little bit there, but also It feels like in this setup, which probably won't happen a whole lot with the U.S. men's national team, although potentially could. It feels like he's defending a lot of wide 1v1s, which happens obviously with you're playing a 3 at the back because you're a little bit further out. And I mean, I guess if McKenzie is going to be playing left center back theoretically with Richards at right center back and Anthony's up the pitch, you could see him have that same situation, but he shouldn't be as often in those wide 1v1s.
Yep. So that was the one time he got done out. And then, as I said, although a 3-0 result, and I'm sure the possession statistics said otherwise, I thought Toulouse did really well to hold their own in this match. PSG didn't create a ton of chances. So this is the last one I had. Again, another time, essentially isolated in a 1v1 versus Barcola. But you see, he does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people tracking back. I'm not sure positionally from this angle. 1, is he on sides? 2, is McKenzie cutting off the angle to where that ball can't be played? But it feels like there's enough room to where if he wanted to whip that into space, he could have. So I don't know if Barcola didn't see him or whatever it may have been. But McKenzie tracks back, gets close to him. Barcola cuts back on his right. McKenzie squares up and ends up with the ball, taking the ball off of him, and they are out the other way. It was an extremely good performance, and when I got tasked with Mark McKenzie versus PSG in a 3-0 loss, I was expecting to come here and not have many positives to say, but the other 2 goals come later in this match where neither of them were even close to his fault. Honestly, some atrocious defending going on by some of the other Toulouse defenders that allowed them to make it 3-0. But after a disappointing international break, I thought it was a really strong performance overall. Mark McKenzie at the Parc des Princes against PSG under a ton of pressure, essentially being forced to play essentially right back and defending Barcola in a lot of 1v1s. It was a very impressive performance, but does not, I guess, comfort all my concerns of when he was playing a truer center back for the U.S., he struggled a little. So maybe athletically he's better in a 3-back. We'll wait to see and determine that. But yeah, good performance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at Bradley Barcola's like player ratings from the season because I know he's had a great season, but I don't watch PSG every week. This is his, by far and away, his lowest rating in a League One match this
That
season.
adds up.
So that speaks volumes. And I mean, just looking at his heat map, clearly he was going at McKenzie. I looked at both their heat maps; they're in the same area of the pitch
Yeah.
all match. He created a combined 0.23 xG plus XA, which is pretty much nothing for him in League One this year, and did not have a shot. Oh, he had one shot on target. Only one successful dribble on 6 attempts. So it seems like McKenzie shut him down. Obviously, you showed a bunch of graphically, but just statistically in the box score too. He really did an excellent job against one of the most promising players in the league.
Yeah. In a weekend where it wasn't an overwhelming success, we always have to be excited when we have a bunch of players going at it in a big Juve AC Milan derby, but wasn't a great weekend, but 2 great performances from 2 players who are both competing for spots in this team, which is obviously always great to see.
Right. I mean, that just ties us back to the same Pepi Balogun conversation. Is you see performances like this, like does this put Mark McKenzie in like his versatility maybe helps him as a potential starter? Like come March, do you think it's McKenzie Richards? Do you think it's McKenzie Ream? Do you think it's Richards?
I'm still Richards Ream. We'll get to my power rankings, but as we both talked about, the fact that as of right now, it's still early. We're still far away from the World Cup, but as of right now, you agreed Ream has essentially played himself into still being a starter, and we both agree that Richards is our most consistent and need to be starting center backs. So I would still go with them two because of the struggles that he showed in the Poch setup. But again, an injury happens. Tim Ream not being available to play just due to being old is certainly on the table. So having this is obviously a fantastic thing. And I didn't show much of it, but as I said, Toulouse was fearless playing out of the back. And he's a part of that. We've touched on his passing before. So all very exciting.
For sure. And I think like we talk about versatility sometimes is kind of a bad thing because you're not the best at anything, but I almost feel like his versatility is a positive because he can play with both feet. He can play in the back 5. He can play in the back 4. He can play right center back, left center back. Like for me, it's not clear who our best center back pairing is. And so I think he'll always be able to have a chance getting slotted in. Haven't seen a whole lot of Richards left center back. Obviously Ream's not going to play right center back. So it's all positive stuff for Mark McKenzie.
And in a world where Scally was playing a ton of right center back as the right back in the build-up, Mark McKenzie could definitely slot into that position if needed.
For sure.
All right, so we'll finish with power rankings. Yeah. All right, so power rankings, as I said, mostly will be off of the international break because we actually didn't do a set of power rankings off the international break. But as you said, Paxton Aronson is in unreal form, so I had to get him involved in the power rankings. All right, number 1, still Pulisic. Don't think we need to touch on this. He put in another unreal 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performance in the 4-2 against Jamaica. He stays in the number 1 slot. A big riser, especially on my list, Ricardo Pepi, number 2. You can't deny he scored in both matches. You can't deny what he's doing. He scored in both matches for the U.S. and obviously, as Will just touched on, got the hat trick at the weekend. Number 3 is Timothy Weah. He's in unreal form for Juve coming into the international break. Obviously, served a suspension in the first match, but then played brilliantly in the second match, capping it off with a fantastic finish. So that is our top 3. Just missing out on the top 3. Probably would have been in the top 3 if Pepi did not score a hat trick at the weekend, is Tanner Tessman. We talked about this extensively, how impressed we were with his performances, both in legs 1 and 2, but mostly in leg 2 without Cardoso, proving that he can be the guy to play the base of that midfield and be the protector, be the distributor. We can't even rave more about how well Tanner Tessman's playing. Rounding out the top 5 is Tim Ream. A lot of people wanted to write him off, including my friend Will. Wanted to.
You gave Pepi his flowers, so you had to just come in and give Tim Ream a little bit of a boost. Yeah. I get it.
Tim Ream at 5. I thought he was the more comfortable of the center backs in both matches. His ball playing out of the back. Pep said it. We said it. It's brilliant from Ream. So he rounds out the top 5. Then 6 and 7 were tough. I kind of interchanged them, but I went Musa just due to the kind of first name on the team sheet type of role he's created with the US. And then obviously, did you say 84 minutes he played?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he played pretty much all of both matches and then plays 84 minutes against Juve. He's at number 6, leaving Weston McKennie at number 7. Again, in the second match, we both thought he was brilliant.
Do you think Musa's like excellent form for the U.S. is helping him get more into the Milan side? Like I wonder how that works. Well, because like for Testament, it's like they're being very careful with his minutes. Clearly, like anytime he plays a lot, he doesn't even sometimes make the bench. Like it's not a performance thing. They're being very, very careful with his minutes. So obviously different clubs do different things, and Musa in his career has been a workhorse who's been able to very much handle lots of minutes. But you'd have to imagine watching Musa play so well kind of gives Milan a little bit more confidence in playing him.
And as we talked about, the club coaches feeling more comfortable sending their players to Pochettino. It's kind of like, well, if Pochettino finds this guy as a need to be into the starting lineup type of guy, like maybe he needs to be in our starting lineup as well. So Musa McKennie, 6 and 7, the final 3. Got to give Matt Turner his flowers. Saved the pen in leg 1. Obviously, still not starting with his club, so I couldn't move him up too high. But showing that the concerns for the goalkeeping position are valid and we would like something better, but it's not the worst thing in the world if we go to the 2026 World Cup with Matt Turner as our goalkeeper, and I take some comfort in that. Finally, 9 and 10. 9, give to Joe Scally. Mr. Consistency, as we talked about, we need to continue to give him the flowers, even though it's not always beautiful, even though he doesn't blow you away with his skill or whatever it may be, but he always puts in a shift. He's always super consistent for us. And when we lost Serginho Dest, one of our best players, we were all very concerned. He stepped in, made the role kind of his own, especially in this Poch system. And we've even talked about, is there a world where Scally starts and Dest plays left back and inverts, right, and it's Jedi. So the fact that he has even made that conversation a real thing, I think deserves credit. And then Paxton Aronson finishes at number 10.
He deserves it, man. He's playing.
Yeah, no, he deserves to be in there. And there wasn't anyone else from the international break who I thought absolutely needed to be there.
And also, Utrecht are in second place. So it's like he's playing for the second best team in the Dutch league right now. Like, it's not like, in past years where maybe he was playing for Utrecht or one of these. He was at, was he at Utrecht last year too? No, he was at, God, I can't remember the name of the club. It's the same one that Mason Mount went, Vitesse. He was at Vitesse, last year. And they were like, I think 12th or something. So he's making a big impact in, one of the better leagues that's not a top 5 league. And
definitely,
hopefully Frankfurt would be a great club for him. They kind of are in and out of those European spots. They are always making a good run when they are in Europe. So hopefully he comes back on loan next summer, and he's a useful profile in my opinion.
We'll wait to see if he's not just another Energizer bunny. But we'll hold out hope. That is the top 10. Jedi probably would have gotten in, as I did think he did well in that inverted role, which we were both shocked he was there, but obviously putting in one of his worst performances at the weekend had him just out. But yeah, that is my top 10 power rankings. That is it.
I got one last thing. One final question, thought, topic. We seem to be getting, like, everyone agrees with us in our comments and whatnot that Tessman was excellent, but they are way more hesitant to say that Tyler Adams is getting replaced. Why do you think that is? Like, because to me, if we want to play in this more Pochettino style, play a little bit more possession, it's clear Tyler Adams is not that player. I agree Tyler Adams offers a whole lot of great things, but he's not as sure in possession. He's not as great in build-up. He's not going to be as press resistant. So why do you think that's a nostalgia thing? Because Tyler Adams has, kind of been.
Yeah, I think it's nostalgia. I think it's nostalgia. I think the people are holding on. I thought he was really, really good at the World Cup. He was just everywhere, breaking up play. He's the type of guy that just gives, like, the old gen of American soccer a lot of comfort, where he's going to get stuck in. He's going to give 100% for the badge. He's a true American, whatever it may be. Like, that just gives people comfort. Tanner Tessman, it's a little more pretty. It might not be getting as stuck in, and that's not the quote-unquote American way. But with Pochettino at the helm, like, we're moving away from that, and people have to lighten up to a different generation of U.S. soccer, which is what everyone was asking for to begin with. So now that it's here, don't fight it and try and get the Jermaine Jones, Tyler Adams
Is there
types
anything
back
more
into the
American than
squad.
being recruited to play football at Clemson? Come on.
Right.
That's pretty
Yeah.
American.
True. Yeah, so like we said, I think Adams gets into the squad. I think he's nice to have. He's a good vet. He's good for the last 20 minutes of the match, but everyone can see what Tanner Tessman is going to do to this side.
Totally agree.
All right. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below. Come back to this video after next weekend's performances and let us know who you want us to profile next. And we'll see you next time.